Spiritual Underground podcast, and my name is Dan. And in TSSR, I say, my name is Dan, and I am 1-2. That M12 is can be a really broad thing. Frankly, I'm just one of another of the human race trying to figure out how to navigate my way around this big blue marble and squeeze as much juice out of it as I possibly can, and with the time I have left, especially considering the time I have wasted. I don't wish to regret the past, but I also I'm not shutting the door on it, as we say, and as the big book says. And so, if you're new to this podcast, this is a primarily 12-step based recovery podcast. By recovery, I do not necessarily mean from substance abuse, although many of us do that. Also, Shane and I both here. Shane's a guest here today. And Shane and I both are active members in a movement here in Louisville where we're delivering this 12-step message to people who are not necessarily chemical-dependent, substance abuse type folks, but are just looking for some tools in life to, like I said a minute ago, navigate this this journey that we have here. As our buddy said last night, this spirit having a human experience. And these 12-step tools have been proven to work for frankly, for the worst of us. And if the tools work for the worst of us, being down and out drug addicts and alcoholics, it certainly will work for those who aren't so far down the scale. Another 12-step or Alcoholics Anonymous quote: no matter how far down the scale you have gone. So we're doing that, and Shane and I both have a lot of parallels in the way that we operate, and frankly, the benefit and the effect that has been in our lives as a result of working these tools on a day-to-day basis. Let me hit the commercials before we get going too much. DTMWW.net's my little handyman woodworking service here in the metropolitan Louisville area. Keep clean, stay safe. So if you need any of that, let me know. You want to talk about you a second on that account? Or would you just want to leave that alone?
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I just thought about it for a second. Some people do wish to. 12-Step Spiritual Recovery is a book by James Christopher Cohn. It is the details on that, what I was just talking about, the 12 steps for everyone. And one of the things in the beginning of the book it talks about is about what we say and what we believe is that our spirits have been sickened by the things that we've experienced through our lives, that we were all born pure and we were all born pure and clean, and our hearts were pure, and over time our spirits get stepped on by the events that happen around us, some of it intentionally, some of it not so much intentionally, some of it more directly than other things, but just it talks about that and kind of points you in a direction so you can see maybe how because our egos don't want to see that, and that book helps you see those things in your life that we can stop the destructive patterns in our lives by first identifying them and then taking some certain measures within this 12-step program in order to heal from them first and then to move forward without continuing them. Darren Frank's music's wrapped around this podcast. As always, I do love that song. That song is called Let Go and Fly. And I used to play quite a bit of Darren's music on here, but I kind of settled down into that as being my theme song. And thank you, Darren, for allowing me to use that, to use your work as a part of this message. So Shane's in the studio today, and he was one of the first few to come in the studio. And he was part of the very first beginning of the podcast to begin with. So he's been here all along and active, and probably on maybe more podcasts than anybody else. Probably because he's been on most of the group ones. Mm-hmm. And you were there for the meetings when we first started talking about doing this too. So that's all super cool stuff. Thank you for helping getting this thing moving.
Thanks for letting me be part of it.
Going too.
Yeah.
I do have a funny story, and I tell it pretty regularly because because of Shane, I've learned a couple of different things. One thing I do before every podcast is I do a little sound check. I didn't used to do that at one point. And Shane was over one day, and he came over and told his story. And that particular day was interesting because you had a sore throat.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was hoarse.
Your voice was kind of hoarse and stuff. And it was before I really nailed down the whole how I was wanting to treat this anonymity thing completely. And you said a lot of last names that day. But, I pray before this podcast that we say what we need to say, and a lot of times I have to live with that. Sometimes my guest will get up and he'll say, I forgot to say, and I was like, we said that prayer at the beginning of this thing that we'd say what we needed to say, and apparently that was something that didn't need to be said today. Yep. We just had to deal with that at face value and accept it. Yep. And but I do a sound check every time. Well, that podcast that we did, I didn't do a sound check, and I had the microphone set up in a way that we had a little slight reverberation thing going, a little echo. What I pictured it was my voice was hitting my microphone, and then just a microsecond later hitting his microphone, and it was the other way around too. So it was frankly unlistenable. And those last names disappeared because Shane's my buddy, and he was more than happy to come back and sit down and do it again. Plus, his voice was clear the second time he came back too.
Yep.
And all the last names disappeared, and I have a sound check at the beginning just to make sure this thing sounds okay before I get to doing a couple of hours of podcast and having to shit can it at the end.
Yeah.
That did hurt a little bit, man. I struggle with that, having to throw that podcast away.
I bet.
Because it's some work. It's a couple of hours of valuable life energy, and it's like a poof.
Now it's gone.
Yeah. And I tried a lot of ways to try to get it to go away, but I couldn't make it go away.
Wasn't meant to be.
Yep. But no big deal. No big deal. So one of the things I was doing is having people back here lately, and we started this thing. I was in a kind of shocked Chase when I told him that his recording was in October of 2018.
I know.
And he's like, really? That long ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was that long ago.
It doesn't seem like it at all.
And I could go back and look, but I know yours was in 18 also because it was one of them first batch to get released before, because I read someplace on the internet, if you're going to start a podcast, you ought to have a little batch of them stockpiled.
Yeah.
I think I was release one episode.
I want to say I was only like a year and a half, 2 years sober, something like that. Yeah. Because I'm like around 3.5 now. So yeah. I look back at that, I'm like, man, where's the time gone? Yeah. Jeez. Seemed like yesterday.
Time does start flying, and that's I think that's a testament to new guys, and I try to make that point, that like I tell them, we'll be through this. If you will do your part, we'll be through this work in 4 months or so.
Yep.
And they're kind of look at that as like a long time, and it's a drop in the bucket first off, because think 4 months back to it's April, beginning of the year was just a second ago.
Yep.
And I said, then after that, you're gonna, what I do now is like wonder about what I work to not do is kick myself in the pants for the 4 years that I bobbled around in 12-step recovery before actually pushing all my chips to the middle of the table. Like we were talking before the podcast, I thought I could still play around at the edges and do a little of this and do a little of that.
Just put your toe in the water.
Okay, if I just did most of the right things. Then I could get away with a little of the old behaviors over if I just kind of kept them to a minimum.
Right.
That book says and experience says, and talk to anybody who has been around this thing a little bit. That don't work.
Doesn't work at all. Half measures availed us nothing.
Yeah. And hell, and sometimes I was giving it 75% measures. And it still really didn't get me much. Although what it did get me was eventually here, because I kept coming back and I kept on knowing there was a knowing in my heart that it was here. I just didn't know how to access it. I just couldn't, that surrender thing is a learned behavior kind of thing, and some of it comes with just a straight up ass kicking or a straight up severe consequence. But even with those consequences, sometimes you still are looking for the loophole where I don't have to necessarily.
Where can I find this? What can I do?
Until I was all in, just struggled.
It's funny you said 4 months, because it's almost exactly 4 months ago I started this weight loss journey. On January 6th is when I started that. Yeah. And I used my 12-step program to help me get through that one day at a time, because I always want everything now. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, it's going to happen if you just start now. You know what I mean? So.
Yep. I was on tractor all day yesterday, and I was doing a Bob Earl binge. I have about 40 Bob Earl, and he's a circuit speaker for those who don't know it, and he's passed now, but he died with 46 or something years sobriety, and he was really controversial in AA because he talked about things like that would be considered outside issues,
Right.
But not to go too far around the loop. But he said he says a line. He goes, golly, I hate to go back to school and get my law degree. He said, I'll be, and it wasn't him, as he was talking to somebody else, or it was a little story. He said, hate to go back to school and get my law degree. He said, I'll be 44 before I graduate, or when I graduate. And the guy goes, well, so what? How old will you be then if you don't go back to school?
That's good. I like that.
You're going to be 44 with or without a degree. You're still going to be 44 at that point in time, no matter what.
Right.
So, right, man, at time you just had to start. You got to begin. Mm-hmm. And that's the way all this stuff is, But that's easier said than done.
Oh yeah.
Now, you do show a specific trait for. I don't know what I want to wrap some real strong words around it, but you do have like a bulldog aggression when it comes to like a
all or nothing kind of deal.
When you set your mind on something, yeah. Because he posted his weight and miles number. So tell about that a little bit.
Yeah. So well, I was just tired of feeling the way I was feeling as far as my body shape. I was 288 pounds.
Because you'd also thinned down once already.
Yeah, once already in recovery.
And got there and then slipped back up the scale,
back,
right?
Yeah, rest on my laurels, as you will, put down my tools. Yeah. And one day I decided to pick them back up. I was like, all I got to do is start, one day at a time, just like you do your program. So I thought of the old saying, a 1,000-mile journey starts with the first step. And I was like, I wonder how long it would take me to walk 1,000 miles. So I set that as my initial goal. All right. So that day I walked a mile, and now I've gotten to where I walk several miles a day. And today I actually walked 8 miles before I came here.
Yeah. And some days more than others.
Yeah. Some days I'm averaging a 4-mile day, and some days I don't even walk. I'll take like one day a week off, but most days I'm walking 4, 8, 12 miles. And
is this something do you have is it an app or that you're tracking that with your phone doing it?
On my phone there's an app to where I can track my miles. When I go on my walks, I start it and I stop it as soon as I'm done.
So these are purposeful walks.
Purposeful walks.
So there's also and there's some validity to this too. But and it's mincing words. But I was curious myself. Is that some people I'll get about 3 or 4 miles in. And I don't know, I haven't looked in a while. But back when I worked at a corporate job and just my coming and going and the things I did, I might get 3 miles in a day just moving around. Right. But you're talking about above your normal. This is actually your purpose-driven type walk. I'm starting and stopping on an app.
Yep. So as soon as I start my walks, and
so you're actually probably walking more than that. Actually.
Yeah, so a lot more. If I went back and added them up, I'd probably be at my 1,000 by now. Yeah. But my purposeful walks.
I think it's a thing on Jordan Peterson talks about aim, and that is your aim, and there's some focus that comes with making an aim. It says, hey, these are going to be purposeful. With intention, walks towards that 1,000 miles.
Yeah, and I also do walking meditation, so I'm meditating for an hour as well. You know what I mean? So 4 miles takes me an hour to do, and I walk at that pace. And it's funny how all this stuff came about and the timing that it did, because I started doing that, and I started getting my miles in, and a friend came to me and said, hey, remember that elk hunt that we were talking about that you said you might want to go do out in Colorado? I said, yeah. He said, well, we need to put in for our tags if you want to do it. And I was like, man, I've always wanted to go out west and go on an elk hunt. But he's like, man, but we got to be in really good shape. He's like, we got climb 12,000 feet up this mountain to get to where we're hunting, and just with the packs on our back, and we got to carry everything in with us. Right. So I was like, man, that's cool. I just started doing this training as far as this walking thing. I started doing and losing weight and trying to get back in shape. So that was another goal, Right, yeah. And so I'm trying to get my 1,000 miles in before this.
When will that be?
September 11th. And on my average, it should be right around the same day as we leave.
Oh, really?
I should be hitting my 1,000 miles. So that was all these things coming together that like this hunt has been on my bucket list of things to do. I want to do my
right,
whole
yeah, me
life.
too.
And for this guy to come into my life in recovery and to watch him grow, man, it's been amazing. I'll say his first name, Travis, my boy Travis. He's been coming in and out he had been coming in and out for over a year, and I've been watching him just flounder like a fish out of water, man.
Yeah.
And he finally one day he came back into the brook, and he just had this different look about him, and I was like, he's ready. And I walked up to him and was like, dude, there's something different about you this time, man. You need to run with it. And he's like, I feel different. And I told him about Spiritual Underground. I was like, man, you need to come check this meeting out and see if you can find you a sponsor, listen to everybody. And and he did. And then we just became really good friends, man. To see his lights come on. And he's actually finishing his 164 today.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. At this moment, he's probably pulling up there to do that right now.
Very, very cool. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And
He's my grand sponsor.
yeah, exactly. And so we started talking about that hunting stuff back then, and I'd totally kind of forgotten about it until this time around came back around. And it's funny because I was like, man, I don't know if my wife will say yes to that, So I'm preparing for this big talk with my wife to ask her if I can go on this thing, because I'm gonna be gone for a little while, and it's gonna cost a little bit of money and things like that, and be away from my family, for like 10 days. So I was getting all my ducks in a row on that, and one day I was like, hey, babe, that elk hunt I was talking about a while back, my friend said? She said, yeah. I was like, well, it's time to put in for the tags, and I think we're going to do it. And she said, well, when is it? I said, September 11th. So she looked on the counter, and she said, okay. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is that it? What? It was just so surprising to me because she has no worries with me anymore as far as what I do and what I'm going to do, and she knows that I need my time too, you know what I mean? Yep. And she gives me that space.
Reparative thing that happens with this that's not tangible. Mm-hmm. You can't really wrap it around that. And when guys are in or having issues with their family, which is a typical thing, right? Mm-hmm. That if you do this and you walk this thing out, now don't come overnight. No. We get a 90 days sober and we think
the whole world
ought to be looking at us different. And she's still harping at me, and she's still.
Yep.
Yeah, man. But after with some time and some real solid consistency in our behaviors in our lives, it bends the way they feel about us, and that lightens that energy load that, because like I said, when she's got to be concerned about you all the time, that's a weight.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when that lifts off,
they're recovering as well.
Right, they're recovering as well, no doubt. Yep.
Now,
intangible that comes with this stuff.
I look back at that, the load that I had put on her. I was talking with a guy the other day who was. He's trying to come into the program and not sure yet if this is real. He kept asking me, "Is this real?" Yeah, man, it's real.
Yeah, I know it. Some people, I know both of you. That's one of the things you and I share in common is that people see what's going on with us, and it frankly is always, in mankind we say, don't hide your gold. And that's like shying away, and I totally understand the concept of humility too. But I gotta beat this drum and let people else know that this is available to them too. But frankly, yours and my gold shines pretty bright, and people see that, and they don't really know what they're seeing. Right?
Yep.
They're not sure, but our default position is there's like some kind of trickery going on. Or fakery,
where they were really doing
that we're not really doing it, or we're overhyping it. That it can't be what it is, and I understand that because when I first came to Spiritual Underground and I saw people living on this other plane, I frankly doubted it at first too. But there was still that nugget down deep that was like a little ember down there that was started to burn. It said it wasn't fake, that kept me. Same thing that kept me coming back to the rooms in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, so you Yeah, definitely. Is this real?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it can be real, and that's one thing. This is available to you also.
Yeah.
Now, another thing is that one of the other things you and I have in common is that we pour a tremendous amount of our life energy into doing this too.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get back out what you put in.
For sure.
For sure. I think we both demonstrate that too, because you work with a lot of guys and spend a big chunk of your life energy towards walking this walk, and that's why you that old saying, it says. Keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting.
Yep.
That also fits here. Keep doing what we're doing, and we'll keep getting what we're getting.
Oh, yeah, man. That brings tears to my eyes, dude. For real.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, man.
It's really cool.
Help a lot of people, and it's phenomenal, and it warms me completely, and a guy like you are the ones that, the energy like that helps me continue to do this thing too, because I will self-doubt myself. I will begin to doubt myself and going, because I'm at heart grew up learning to be this con man, where I could con you into believing what I need you to do, or be, or whatever, what I needed out of you in order to get what I needed, and I will still, as we were talking earlier about them that old training and those old habits and stuff. That are just tough to shake.
Yep.
And as solid as I feel today, I still, but today I can like smile at them a little more.
Yeah, when they pop
rather
up.
than because early on you get frustrated about the fact that they're still there, right?
Yep.
Almost a fighting.
Yep.
Like, oh, I don't want to. Now I can actually smile at that and go, hey, that's just what that, like I was telling you that story about slicing those logs off for Chase for his hatchet throwing stuff.
Right.
Me and Dom were down at the cabin cutting firewood. And he said, hey, would you, he said, I got an idea. And I said, what? And he said, well, first off, if it's your idea, I got to reject it right off.
Yep.
And I don't
didn't come
want
up
to
with
be
it.
that way, but it's that default thing that
Yeah.
it's just, but I catch that real quick today. I mean, it's microseconds, but it flashes and I can appreciate it and also see it for what it is, and be able to do that rather than be like, oblivious to the way my deal operates.
Right.
So I instantly know it's a bad idea, and then he says, let's cut one of these off so Chase has to be a great target for him in his axe throwing. Well, then a couple other things comes in. It's all micro thought. First off, it's wasted cuts. It's not making firewood, and that's what we're here to do. Want to go cut that tree over there down just for fun? Oh, no, we're here doing cutting firewood, dude. And then there's also a little bit of that selfishness inside of there too. Of it ain't for me,
right?
But that all snaps, and like I said, that's a microsecond thing. And actually, looking back at it, what it is, it's an initial flinch in my being, and I really don't know what that is, but I can self-correct quickly, and then after the fact, look and go, yeah, this is what's going on. It's almost like an inventory, it's a mini inventory. Okay, why did I feel like that? Well, here's the reasons why, and then so, oh no, yeah. And I even, like I told you earlier, I said, these things are, I don't know, I seem to be taming my language down a little bit, but I don't throw it around left and right, but I told him, I said, fuck that. He looked at me like damn, dude. And I said, we'll do two.
Right.
And, but that initial flinch thing that comes along, and it's there when you, see people in that self-doubting thing. So like when I start believing that I'm this con man and that maybe I'm just conning myself on all this too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because they don't see me that well, in the same way I just did that little inventory about what was that flinch. I also had to I also find myself looking at myself as far as, is this real too? Sometimes I have to ask that. And when I got guys like you around me, well, that helps me come quicker to when I inventory that portion of what's going on. I go, well, it ain't, it's real in his life,
right?
It's real in his life, and it's okay, yeah,
It's
can be
real
in my life too. It is funny. I mean, because I think we're all insane. We really are.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I can admit being insane today and almost thrive in it in a way and laugh at myself.
Yep.
The problem is if you're not, when you lay that stuff out on the table with people that don't understand that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they look at you weird and
frightening to them.
Yep. There's a lot of stories I haven't told people because they wouldn't understand it. You know what I mean? They wouldn't understand what I'm going through or what I'm feeling or what it's like. Because
you're operating on this other plane I talk about. It's a different plane of reality.
I see it and I feel it and I love it. I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to stay right here where I'm at but I mean, growed, but it's just, I love the feeling that I have today.
Yeah, I hear you on that too, man. Because like you said, keep doing what you're doing, keep getting what you're getting. But I'm not. That's the other thing that we share in common is that we're not okay with just stopping right here either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep
What's
doing
next?
I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing so I can keep getting what I'm getting. But that keep doing is keep doing things that grow my spirit and that improve my conscious contact with God and my fellows.
Yeah.
And continue to grow. That's that's the little line in between, like where it sounds like, man, I'm okay right here.
Right.
Well, you can never be okay right here.
Yeah.
You really, I mean, so that's another dichotomy, right? Because I do have to be okay right here. But I'm not going to settle for this and stop my walk. I can't. That's another thing that happens in recovery is that we get good enough.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever be good enough. I'm always going to want to find more of whatever is out there, new experiences and different things I'm going to be doing, like climbing this mountain.
Right.
I've never climbed a mountain before, but I'm going to climb a fucking mountain. Another thing is, my cousin called not too long ago, and he was talking about I can never say
Machu
it.
Picchu.
Machu Picchu. I can never say it. I can never get it out. But he started talking about it. He's like, man, I've been wanting to go there my whole life. He's like, 2 years from now, I'm going. And I was like, well, if you don't mind, I'm going to go with you.
Is that Mexico?
Peru, South America, yeah. And I was like, I don't know why, but that place has been calling me my whole life to come visit it. So let's do it. He's like, hell yeah, let's go. So we've got it set up 2 years from now. We're headed to Peru if God willing. But
right. That's everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
I you got to make some plans in some areas.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, I asked my wife. I tell my wife what I want to do, and she's like, "Go for it." I was like, "Man, this is just. I'm getting to do all these things I've always wanted to do, and go to these places I've always wanted to go to, and it's just." I wouldn't be able to do that before because I hoarded all my money to go towards other things, and now I don't have to do that. I can put it towards things I want to do in life that are really going to truly make me happy. And it's more of a spiritual journey more than anything. It's not tangible what I'm going to acquire there. When I go out west to go up that mountain, just walking up that mountain is going to be a spiritual experience to me. I'm going to be in God's country, and be away from everything and just being hugged by God, if you will. What I mean? Just, hey, I'm here. See me?
You could talk about that, spiritual journey thing. It was like, in that other world, not only was the money and stuff prohibitive, that probably as much as more of a fear thing. It probably wasn't actually a decision thing where he said, I'm not going to do this because I want to spend my money here. Mm-hmm. But we lived in a scarcity environment where,
Oh, yeah.
And like what's happened for me and you here, I believe, I think I can speak for you in this regard, is that the limits have come off and there's no more like living in a scarcity fear kind of thing where, I can't go do that because I can't afford it, or I can't, so-and-so won't let me, all these limiting thoughts,
right?
That, I won't even begin to investigate because I hit those limits in my mind and shut down.
They'll never let me go, or they'll say no.
Won't have the money. I can't do that. I'm not capable physically of doing it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, we throw all kinds of limitations on ourselves, and and I'm not living under that anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that. I don't live in that feeling of scarcity and limits.
Yeah. The sky isn't a limit anymore.
Yeah. It's another miracle recovery kind of thing. Just come off, and I can't. Like dialoguing with you about it will allow me to like talk about it, right? But I can't like sit down and talk about it otherwise, and it's tough to like deliver to a new person,
right?
All that just straight up because you kind of sensory overload, feeding having them drink from a fire hose thing.
Yeah, I had to watch that the other day. I was watching myself, and I'm trying to fine tune that because I'll put so much on them, so much so quickly. I can see how it can turn somebody off. But I've learned to kind of refine that to just give them a little trickle, instead of giving them the fire hose all at once. Like, here you go, And
it's the same way we walk through somebody. I mean, that's a parallel to how we walk somebody through the work too. You don't give it all to them.
Yep.
You don't give them a notebook that says, "Here's all the stuff you're going to do. Call me when you're done."
Yeah, exactly.
We say, "Okay, next.
One step
do
at a
this,
time.
Next. Okay, here's your next assignment. Here's your next instruction."
Yeah, it was cool. The guy that I was speaking about earlier, kind of bring it back to him. He was talking about thinking about divorcing his wife and stuff like that, and I was like, man, you don't know what you've put her through. It as far as you need to take a look at yourself before you go and make these rash decisions and realize your part and why she may be feeling the way she's feeling, and he kind of got that. And some of the other things we talked about the other day, he even said it himself. These are his exact words was, I need to shut up and listen. Because he talks a lot, how we are, it's all about us, we talk a lot about it. And then he did, and I spoke, and I was giving him just little bits. And one of the things I did was, and this was a higher power thing too, at one point we were talking about the Neverglades episode and how the page 83, 84 thing worked out. And something told me, because he flipped the book open right to that page and he marked and he put Shane next to it for some reason. And he started to read it, and I said, hold on. And I read it to him. And he sat there, and this is when he shut up finally. And I recited the promises to him, and he was shaking his head, and he's tears coming to his eyes, and you could tell it was really touching him, because that's what kept me in the rooms, was somebody reading the promises that first time, and that's why they meant so much to me. And I read them. When I got done reading, that wind was blowing in a weird way. What I'm saying? And it got real quiet, and we just sat there in quiet for a minute.
Yeah.
And I said, the reason I know those promises so well is because that's what helped save my life. They sounded so good to me, and I wanted that. And that's the day my journey started. And we start talking, and he listened a lot. And just like I said, just give him a little bit. Man, I was so juiced up because I could see it changing on him, man. I was like, oh, man, this is so, because he's a newbie, not somebody who's been through any kind of step program ever,
right.
And I haven't had a guy like that raw and new in a while, because I get some guys that have been through it and wanting to up their game a little bit and go on to another level with it. And but he finally said, I heard a lot of profound things today. And he's like, I'm going to sit and marinate in it. Thank you for meeting with me today, man. This has been amazing. And it was just really cool. And I haven't talked to him today yet, but I'm sure he'll call sometime, but when he's supposed to.
Take a picture of both.
Yeah, get in there. Want me to take my shirt off? I'm the king of the shirtless selfies.
Yep, you are.
That night we did that at Bupa Tobacco's.
Yeah.
I did that on purpose. As far as that was my the biggest I ever wanted to be. And I took my shirt off to eat that big chocolate fudge sundae, whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was huge. And I took my shirt off to eat that thing and take a picture. And I would say that was my fat moment. My motivation picture. I don't want to be any bigger than that ever. So
yeah, we did go all out that night.
Yeah. Oh my God, we did. Yeah. It was a lot of food.
When I eat like that today, turn that knob down just a little bit.
Yep.
See that volume? Just a hair. It doesn't take much, man.
Gotcha.
Like an eighth
Is
of a
that
turn or
better?
something. Yeah.
Right.
Good. I felt terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was too much of the wrong kind of food for me. Now, I could have a little of that, and I could be fine.
Yeah. No, we gorged.
Yeah. And I went home, I was like sick, and I paid for it the next day, too.
Yeah.
It was just felt just completely lethargic.
Like blah.
Like a hangover, but it tasted good, and it was fun.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I've noticed in my body, too, is like the stuff that I'm putting in it, not as much as coming out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I used to have to go to the bathroom all the time, and I had like stomach problems and things like that, like irritable bowel syndrome kind of deal, and I don't have that anymore because I'm not putting all that crap in my body anymore. You know, I'm not eating a bunch of junk food all the time. I'm not eating a lot of sugars at all. You know, occasionally, once a week, I'll get a little bit, and if I do, sometimes I overindulge some. But that's just one day instead of 7 days.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
We can't. I don't want to live. What do they call it? The ascetic lifestyle.
Yeah. If
I'm
I
not
want
looking to sleep on a bed of nails every night just to prove how bad, not. And I shouldn't say that to prove how big a badass I am or whatever, because that's not why they do it.
Right.
But I don't want to lead that restrictive of a life either.
Exactly.
I want to have some freaking cake and some ice cream now and again, or go out for pizza,
Yep.
or hit a Bubba de Pepos and pig out. Of course, I probably won't go quite where we went the other day, but back there, that was around December. Our church
time.
closes down in a couple weeks around the holidays, and we have a little tradition of going and still meeting up and getting together. And because frankly, that's a whole new thing with this COVID thing, is that us not meeting face to face like we normally do. So that even in that 2-week period, we didn't want that to happen. So we would get together and have a meal together instead.
Yep.
And that's what that was about.
Yeah, the not having the meetings is kind of. I've been meeting with my sponsees a lot, so that's helped a lot. I have 2 sponsees that live within. One lives a mile exactly from my driveway to his driveway. I can walk there, and it's exactly 1 mile.
Oh, really?
And then another one, it's I can from my driveway to his driveway, it's 2 miles. So I can walk to either one of their houses, and we go for walks and talk, cool. And do step work and stuff like that. And then I have another gentleman who's on home incarceration that his probation officer is actually letting him come to my house during this time 3 days a week. And just come to my house and spend an hour and a half in my house with me.
That's cool.
Yeah, versus because there's no meetings to go to. He would definitely be at home, very isolated. He's already used to the isolation kind of part, but he was able to go to work and go to meetings. But now that there's no work and no meetings, he really would have been at home. So he's been very grateful about having me as a sponsor. He's been thanking me a lot, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. His lights are coming on even more, which is cool because he's in a kind of a weird spot in his situation. But he's getting more humble. And it's really cool to see that too, in these times that we have right now. So, I'm this morning I met with the one sponsee that lives 2 miles away from me, and then I'm now here with you doing a podcast. And then at 3:00 I'm going to go do a third step with a guy, and then at 5:30 the other guy's coming to my house to walk. So
that's what I mean about pouring a lot of life energy into doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And there is some work involved with it. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, it does.
It certainly is effort
mm-hmm.
and responsibility and that kind of thing goes with it. Because when I say I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's the one thing the guy said about the other day, because I was like 10 minutes early. I got there early, and he's like, "Oh, you're here early." I was like, "No, I'm right on time." I don't like
on time. On time is late.
Yes, I don't like to be late for anything anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
Ever.
Yeah. I struggle with that a little bit in my work life. Not too bad right now, but sometimes I try to pile up a couple jobs in a day or whatever, and it's something just goes wrong at one. But what I try to do on the flip side of that is be real communicative and make sure I let them know when it looks like I'm going to be running behind. I can tip them off pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, because I have absolutely no reservations right now meeting up in small groups.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 people wouldn't have any, not even a stitch of worry about doing that.
Yep.
And certainly not one-on-one.
Yeah.
That's not the point, and there's, I've run into a couple people lately who are isolating 100% self-quarantining on purpose, mm-hmm. and then, so that's fine if you want to do that.
Yeah.
But you then can't complain to me because you're choosing to do that.
Right.
Because you do not have to do that. You can go for a walk with somebody.
Yep.
You can get together with a couple people and just play safe. Everybody be clean. Everybody do the right kind of sanitation kind of stuff and take care of ourselves, which frankly we probably should be doing to some level anyway.
Right.
Is, keeping ourselves little germ-free hand stuff kind of thing. I probably, from my work perspective, I probably will not really set that particular element down moving forward. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm being a little ultra clean today. Like I said before the podcast, I have those Clorox wipes and that kind of thing, and I usually pull one out of the thing and I walk in with it in my hands because that's the way I'm like demonstrating to the client
Right. Yep.
that I'm clean,
Yep.
that I'm taking care of this, and I actually will mention it to them. You know,
Yep.
keep it in my hands, and if I touch their stuff, my hands have been clean right now.
Right.
And I can wipe off whatever it is that I touched. And then when I leave, I can kind of wipe up too for whatever I touched. But I probably will continue to do that. So there's actually some things in our world, you know, that's going to come off of this that I think, you know, I always try to look for silver lining today. That's another one of these spiritual miracles that wasn't my old thinking. I tended to lean towards the negative a little harder than the positive in the past, like that scarcity idea. You know, the worst is going to happen. The Zoom stuff is it doesn't meet the same face-to-face energy, but like last night during that meditation thing, man, I got off on that meditation.
I did too. It
Through
was
that
awesome.
Zoom element.
Yep.
And you know, people are being able to go to meetings that they wouldn't be able to go to otherwise.
Right. Like
You could go to a
Ray.
meeting in California. Like
Yeah.
Ray came into that last night.
And a guy from
Darren's
Hawaii.
bedbound.
Yeah.
Yeah, a guy from Hawaii popped in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're able to do that. And of course, then, you know, you and I think are the same on this account too. You know, I really don't have any anonymity.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Yeah. Anybody can know who I am.
Yeah.
Shane Gibson.
Yeah. And I'm perfectly okay with that. There's also some underlying things there to me. I think there's some personal accountability to my higher power, to the world, and my brothers and my sponsees and all that. That when I walk around with that, I have some accountability to keep it.
Yeah. For sure.
I think accountability is an element in this, although not the primary element. It's certainly a valuable element that if you know, you and I both have a group of folks that to some extent are counting on us staying sober.
Yeah. We do.
And that's okay with me, you know, because I'll put that in my hip pocket as another thing that says, okay, Dan.
That's what you got to do.
This is what we're doing today.
Yep.
So, you know, I wonder about like opening up meetings and having if this won't be something that stays in a permanent way where Darren can join the meeting week to week
Right.
through that tool.
Yeah, that's one thing he said the other day. He's like, I'm going to more meetings I've been in a long time. This is awesome for him, you know.
Right.
You know, they even shut it down to where he can't have visitors at all. You know, nobody can go in there.
Right.
So.
It is quarantine. I have a sponsee who had a exposure in her work environment. And it's caused her. She's on 14-day quarantine for real now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean it's not a huge, you know, it's
Right.
no big deal, and she's not sick, so and she lives alone too, so it's not like a quarantine of
The whole family.
the whole family kind of thing or whatever. Because I did have a client that had to postpone, and now I think about it, it's been probably long enough, but her daughter had just came back from Europe. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I'm not exactly sure, they quarantined her. And
Yeah.
they put a bedroom like in a basement and like taped this thing off and had a garbage can that was just for the things she touched, and she had plastic utensils that went in the garbage can, you know, and they were
Wow.
like feeding her through a crack in the door kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this was right when this thing kicked off too. This was before, you know, this was when it was first
Right. Yeah.
rising up here locally. I did notice too that it actually did, like my buddy in Texas did not feel the effects of it for a little while after we did. Like it was moving from coast to coast.
Right. Yeah. Going towards the middle. That's what I noticed too.
Yeah. Because they were still having face-to-face meetings and still do have some down there. But they limited to 10 people.
Yeah, I know some people are trying to have like outdoor meetings and things like that here in Louisville.
Yep.
And there's one in a warehouse or something like that, but they're taking precautions for that. And
I think those outdoor meetings got shut down, the ones at the one place though.
Oh, really?
It's at the one particular clubhouse over there.
Yeah.
Pigeon's Roost or whatever.
yeah, huh? Yeah, this
Yeah, I think there was a governmental thing that come down, and they didn't make them stop, but they strongly suggested they do, and I think they did. They took the Facebook page down that was announcing it and things like that.
Right. That's another thing that, you know, when we do get to go back to regular meetings, there's going to be some faces that we're going to be surprised are gone. You know what I mean? And I kind of prepare myself for that too, because I know this disease, and what it does to us and what it takes from us.
Yep.
And it takes some of our prized possessions, as we call it, our friends, is, people we think are solid, and anybody can fall victim to it, and it's hard for especially somebody new in recovery too, coming in trying to find some meetings right now, trying to get sober right now. Man,
I feel for them.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine, because I need that human contact, but if they didn't have it before, they don't know what they're missing yet. So when they get to a real meeting, maybe they'll feel a little bit more. So if they're getting it now, wait till the real meetings come in, and probably get a lot more out of them.
Yeah. Well, I do think it all falls in what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, so to speak. And I read something from some gal in recovery the other day that was talking about, this is we were built for this. Mm-hmm. I've been practicing for 5 years,
my whole life.
I have 5 years of recovery under my belt, mm-hmm. where I've been preparing to deal with tough stuff in sobriety.
Yeah, and
so it was just practice for times like these.
Yeah, for sure. I've had
I can see just exactly how my program fits right into this, because I'm not, like we talked about beforehand, I'll take the appropriate precautions, but I'm not going to eat up over this. I'm not going to let this thing be a defining point in my life.
Right.
This is not going to define my day-to-day activities right now.
Right. Yeah. When it first started out, I started doing the yoga thing, and I was really getting into that, and I was loving it, and I was going 3 days a week at 6 in the morning. It was like I love Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I love getting up that early and going and doing it, and then that got shut down.
Yep.
And then the gyms got closed, and then the meetings got shut down. I'm like, those are all the things that help keep me sober and sane, and what am I going to do now? Kind of deal. I started to freak out a little bit, because I was like, all these things is what helps me. So I had to alter them a little bit, and so I started doing yoga at home by myself, and then I started working out at home by myself. I started walking more, and I started the Zoom meetings, getting on those, and I started getting stuff out of them. But, the human connection part, that's my thing. I'm a hugger, I love to hug people, and not being able to hug people, that sucks. And I mean, even when I go to work at customers' houses, there's a lot of customers that I hug, even new customers. By the end of our day, I get a hug from them, which is really cool. But not shaking the hand, when I go to the door, tough, it's just like I feel weird. It makes me feel different, and it's like, but trying to keep that social distancing too, and it's just hard when you're a social person and love to hug people.
And I'm trying to practice that, and I especially try to practice it with acquaintance and more distant client kind of things. Somewhat out of respect for that, but you and I hugged when we got here. I hugged Travis when I went up to his house the other day. I'm still
a hugger.
I'm still hugging.
Yeah, I'm hugging the ones that will. Right, me too.
And that ends up being that, that's what takes us down, and fuck it, oh well.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, again, like we talked about, this is a quintessential powerlessness. Mm-hmm. There's really nothing. I can take precautions, but there's really nothing I can do to make or not make something happen under this.
Yep.
And I refuse to go in there and wrap myself in saran wrap trying to stay safe.
Yep. God has a plan.
Yeah. Yep. I really, I know you feel this way too. I say these parallels in a way because some level it's like a blood brother kind of thing.
Yep.
We share sponsor, so we've got a lot of the same philosophies that's came to us in the teachings of how to walk this walk in a way. And
for sure,
one of the things I think that Christopher would say about both of us is that we both kind of like took that lesson and ran with it, rather than like just took the lesson and sat with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
You can take this lesson and sit with it and realize a lot.
Yeah.
But both of us have picked it up and added to it rather than, just leave that. But I walk this thing safe and protected today. Mm-hmm. Frankly, I'm pretty damn sure that me and mine won't be affected by this. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty damn confident of that.
Yep.
I don't want to get cocky, and I don't want to get.
I get that. Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. But I just feel that way. I feel that way when I'm walking on earth today.
Yeah.
I really feel like I can go wherever I want to go. There was a point, like you and I both talked about, I can go anywhere without carrying a gun for the rest of my life.
All the time.
I'm prohibited from doing that today. But there's another one of them, God for doing for me what I couldn't do for myself kind of thing. I look at it that way. And I don't need it anymore. And I don't know that that would have come to me as quickly if it was optional.
Right.
I don't know. I always just throw out thoughts. But it was a forced thing on me. And so I had to come to some level of acceptance with it.
Yeah.
and I don't need it anymore. And I would have told you I can't imagine. And now when I work with, we know some dudes that need that on them today.
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time. And again, your own conception.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I will hear language like, rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. It's like insurance, you don't necessarily need, you better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it.
Right.
And I get all that.
Oh, yeah.
But I would have said those same, I have, not would have. I have said those exact same statements in my life. And I don't feel that way anymore.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Ever since I got sober, I don't carry a pistol anymore. It was always on me, even in my customers' houses. I've been that paranoid. I would do that.
Yep. Yeah. It's like I needed it within arm's reach all the time. I kept it by me all the time. I was really uncomfortable when I would go into environments where you really just couldn't.
Yeah.
Go to a concert or go. There's certain places that you just really
metal
can't,
detectors are involved. Yeah.
Schools. I usually didn't risk that.
Yep.
I didn't want that consequence, frankly.
Yeah, for sure.
That steepens the curve a bunch.
Yeah.
When you walk into school with one.
Yep.
But yeah, that operates. So under the same way, I'm not that worried about this. My particular, and again, it's not from a selfish standpoint. I don't mean that I only care about me and mine.
Right.
I don't want anybody to have this. I wish people weren't dying.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't happening, but it is. And
it is, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Will be safe inside of it.
I feel the same way, man. I don't feel this impending doom closing in on me. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna live my day every day like I do. Yeah. But take some precautions. I'm not saying I'm not doing that, but
without licking doorknobs.
Exactly. And just trying to limit my running around, and it's very limited anyway because not many places are open and things like that. So
yeah, I miss kind of there's some times when I'd like to go out, sit down, and have something to eat at a place, and you can't do that right now, and I miss that a little bit. I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it here, but one of my drug of choice in recovery is busyness. I can find myself over busy.
Yep.
And this is having me reevaluate that to some extent. I still like to do things, and I'm just not a sedentary dude. I'm just not real good with just, one of the reasons why I do meditate.
Right.
Is to offset that other side of me.
Right.
That goes.
Yep.
I'll burn my bearings out.
Yeah.
If I don't let them rest a little while.
Yeah. Exactly.
And but this also has helped me do that, to go, hey, slow down for a minute, Dan. Chill, take a breath.
And I think, to be honest, I think this is going to humble a lot of people as far as to let them realize what is more important in life right now, and show them that they were working too much, working too hard, not spending enough time with their families. Because I'm seeing a lot of good stuff coming out of this already. I see more people walking around in neighborhoods than I have seen in years. Every day.
I see these kids on bikes up and down the street, this little dead-end street I've lived on or near. My parents have lived here for 40-something years now, 45 years or so. We used to be full of kids in the neighborhood, and it's vanished. The neighborhood almost looks like a ghost town.
Right.
Until now. Yep. Now they're out doing drawing stuff up and down the sidewalks.
Yep.
There's unbelievable sidewalk art all over town.
Yeah, and positive things. They're saying be grateful, humble, hope, love, all these things that, and to see the parents out there with their kids doing stuff, because you don't hardly see that anymore.
Right. Yep.
So
It's another thing I don't like about privacy fences.
Right.
I'm an anti-privacy fence person because I can't see my neighbors.
right, I hear you.
There's a little bit of contingency, and I neither promote nor endorse any causes. Don't want to engage in any controversy.
Yeah.
But the build the wall thing,
Right.
and then but personally, you don't want, some people don't want the wall, but they will have a privacy fence up around their particular castle.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
but that's the thing about, like talking to your neighbors over the fence, or when you walk outside and you see them in the backyard saying, "Hey, James, how's it going?"
Yep.
But if that wall's in the way, if that fence is in the way,
Yeah.
and so, like seeing the kids, I turned around and had a moment of, I know, again, this is another thing, when you see certain things, there will be a vision, you'll see something, and you'll know that for something different than what what it looks like on the surface.
Right.
And it's that new pair of glasses kind of thing. But I had one of the moments the other day of a little girl driving her little John Deere Jeep up and down the street, the
Nice.
electric battery operated
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
And that's another thing, I don't see much of anymore.
Right.
And I just took a moment and watched that little kid, that
Oh,
little
yeah.
girl. And she was eating too. That's one of the other things. She had a sandwich in her hand, and I thought, ain't that apropos, man?
Right.
That's like monkey see, monkey do, because you see people that, we can no longer drive. We have to
Yeah.
be driving and texting, or driving and talking on the
Talking,
phone,
yep.
driving and eating.
Yep.
We're multitasking, and there she was driving down the street with I don't know what she
Bologna
had. But
sandwich.
She was eating, it did kind of look like a sandwich the way she was. And she also ran into the curb. And I saw her get out and kind of look at her car, and because that's what the whole scene was, just like a little surreal with the sandwich and this. And then she had a wreck,
Yeah.
and all she did was she just curved over, was because she was eating her damn sandwich and wasn't paying a lot of attention to where
Right.
she was going. And she hit the curb, and that little truck stopped.
Yeah.
And she gets out and evaluates it. Like stands there she still got her sandwich in her hand. She got one hand on her hip, and she's looking down at that, sets that sandwich on the hood of her truck and jerks it around and gets it lined back out in the road, and jumps
Right.
back in it and carries on.
That's awesome.
But you don't, I haven't seen people moving around like that in a few years.
Something that's happened in my life, when I was out in the madness, I was having my drug dealer come to my house and drop stuff off, and I was selling marijuana and stuff like that. And my neighbor, we had like a falling out a little bit, and just like some things that happened, and so during that time, he kind of like pushed my kids away. Like my kids couldn't go over to his house and play with his kids, kind of deal. And it kind of pissed me off, And when I got sober, I don't know, man. That's when I really knew this program was working for me. I was about 3 months sober, and I was at SU for our Tuesday night meeting, and my wife calls, and she knew I was in a meeting, so I was like, I would hit the button so it wouldn't ring anymore, and then she called right back, so I knew something was going on. So I went out, and she was crying. I was like, well, what's wrong? She said, well, Journey went over next door, it's my daughter, and was playing, and he told her to leave. I'm not going to say names, but he told her to leave and push her out the door. Not push her out the door, but told her she needed to go home. And so I went over there she came home crying, so I went over there to talk to her, talk to him to see what was going on. And then he said some really mean things to me. And now I'm crying, and, she's just all worried, and I got pissed off. And I was like, I'm on my way. So I got in my truck, and I'm driving there, and luckily it's about a 20-minute drive. And I'm thinking to myself, does this program really fucking work? So I started praying, and I prayed the whole way home. And I got home, I went over, didn't even talk to my wife or anything, went over, knocked on the door. His wife came to the door and said, well, he's not here right now. And he had went to take one of the kids home in the neighborhood, and it's actually a friend of mine's son. I was like, oh, they live right over, he'll be right back. So sure enough, here he comes pulling back, and when he got out of the car, I said, man, I just wanted to talk to you and just see what's going on, man. And he just lays some stuff out on the table and just opens up and just tells me everything that's going on wrong in his life as far as like kind of like fifth step stuff, man. It was pretty cool. He just started laying it all out. And I was quiet the whole time, and I listened to him the whole time. And by the end of it, he said he was sorry for shooing them out the door. He said he was saying some things like, you know, my kids would never do that kind of deal, and my daughter had just kind of walked in their house because that's what we let kids do at our house. Yeah, and he said, you know, I'm sorry I overreacted. I had some other things going on, and I appreciate him saying that stuff. And then he said, you know, tell your wife I'm sorry. I said, no, I'll go over and get her, and you can tell her yourself. And he did. And we went back over on the back porch, my wife and I. We sat down, and my wife's just like looking at me, smiling, and starts crying. I was like, you know this is working because you know what I would have done.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yep.
I would have kicked that door and drug that dude out in the front yard and whooped his ass. You know, that was the old me.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that, dude.
Right.
It was fucking beauul.
Yep.
I started crying. I was like, I am changing, man. So just 2 nights ago, I'll go back. So I've made amends to both of them, and during my process, my 9-step amends, I made amends to his wife, and I never really felt like I owed him an amends until I spoke to his wife and made my amends, and she said, you know, Nick thought you were dealing drugs and things like that, and he didn't. I said, you know what? I was. And he had every right not to want my kids over at his house because he didn't know what I was into. He didn't know if I was putting his life in danger,
Right,
his kids in danger.
Violate his personal security.
Yeah, and he was doing it in a nice way. I can see that now. Mm-hmm. He was trying to protect his family, and I made my amends to him, and that was really cool too. Yeah. And he thanked me. I told him what was going on in my life, and the other night, his whole family came over to my house to play games on the back porch with us, and we had a great freaking time. That's the first time, and we've been neighbors since 2013. When I was in my madness, I pushed everybody away. So it's been about 3 or 4 years since they've been over and doing that, and cool. It was really cool. We had a great time, yeah. And our kids have been playing because we're all quarantined. So our kids have been going nowhere except right here in our yard playing with their kids, and that's it, And
yeah, that's another thing, man. I know some people are not like letting their kids play with other kids, and I don't know that that's required either.
No, not if they're not going anywhere. I mean,
they ain't bumping into nobody else.
Exactly.
They're not out going to go to daycare and then come home and spread it.
Yep.
They've just been here all day,
Yeah, exactly. And the parents aren't going anywhere either.
We teach kids, a little bit of that social distancing to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're obviously going to violate that.
Right.
Because kids are going to be kids.
Yeah, everybody is.
But we can practice it, and they can have some fun and not have to be like isolated at that level. That is a tough thing right now. Is that for the kids as far as like any kind of isolation and not being able to end up being a little, and I don't mean really isolation, but some parents are not comfortable letting their kids get out at all or interact with anybody.
Yeah, it's all fear.
It's a little extra protection, a little overreaction to me, and again it comes to that, there really is nothing that you can do completely,
right,
100%. And to take life, that's stealing a little life away from somebody day by day.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I'm still letting my daughter. My son doesn't really lean that way, but my daughter is, and she wants to have friends over.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, just let's be cool about it.
Right.
And maybe not be. It's not like they're going to be up there messing with Grandpa anyway.
Right.
But give him a little space so that if anything is going on, keep it away from him, just to be safe again.
Mm-hmm.
Not extreme, but I let her have friends over and spend a night.
Yeah. Yeah, ours. We haven't had any sleepovers. They haven't even really asked, but if they'd ask and it's a neighbor, yeah. Well, no, they did.
Well, my daughter wants to. She asked. She says, a little bit. I'd rather. This gets into something, but I'd rather they come here and spend the night.
Right.
But I've let her go other places too.
Yeah. Just next door. I totally forgot they did spend the night next door, and that was it. But
yeah, and like I said, there's a controlled environment there, and that is not what they're telling us we can't do. and the whatever it is, the CDC or whoever it is, or the guidelines and all that is still don't meet in groups bigger than 10.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say we are not violating anything here. And there's a
Right.
little bit of a shame culture thing sort of going on too about if you're violating it, you're putting the society at risk.
Yep.
It's like, no.
They're ready to hang you. Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of energy going on. I sense once in a while about some people who are choosing to take it a little more strongly than I am, and a little like almost a little judgmental thing about not, that I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
and that therefore I'm like irresponsible. Some language caught me, and I know this is in me too, so I know it ain't totally, it is not on the other person completely, but I would say that we share some responsibility here. Is that at one point I saw statements that said things like, well, I'm just going to stay home out of respect for other people, or out of my concerns for other people. And I was like, so the fact that I'm actually not doing that, are you insinuating that I don't have any respect for anybody?
Right.
Because this is what a little bit the statement kind of looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
I had to watch out because I know that that's probably not actually the energy they're wanting to put off. That wasn't intentional that they were throwing that out there, but it's definitely got a lot of interesting things. And I also have a little tendency to overthink some stuff. I will circle back to the guy next door. You was talking about how you wouldn't have operated in that way when you went over to talk to this man. There's also that little spiritual piece of it that he wouldn't have also been receptive to it if you hadn't have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's one thing of you operating on that level, like in a way, actually action. But there's also the thing of like him being able to actually receive that.
Right.
And you can't just receive that from anybody.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Even no matter how well-meaning they are in their approach.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between it being real.
Yep. Genuine.
And genuine and again, I want to take away from somebody who's doing the right thing, period. But there's some energy. That's why we do like 8-step work before we go do 9s, right?
Yep. There's a process.
So we shed that energy before we go show up at the door.
Yeah. and it's funny because I did that whole time, the whole way home.
Right.
I prayed and it worked, man.
That's practicing these principles, and that's a bigger thing of like, of putting these things into our life on a day by day and how I operate kind of thing, rather than just my little occasional trips through the actual work.
Mm-hmm. And it was so surreal though that to actually feel it and see the program actually working. Is this real kind of stuff like I was talking about earlier, and that's when I knew it was real because it worked.
I know that you bend I do, and you do too, because I hear you talk and I see what goes on around you. Yeah, we have this gets a little funny, but again, I'm not going to hide my goat. I have the ability to bend my reality in the way that I go out and approach the world. So I can run into somebody who's putting up the wall energy, and this is going to be difficult, and maybe somebody in the service industry, like at a Home Depot or at some other place where I need this person's help.
Yep.
And matter of fact, you are wearing that orange vest, which means you are getting paid to help me.
Right.
So let's do this in a really cool way, want to?
Yeah.
And I don't really say that, but that's my
right.
Okay, so I had to like maybe put on a little bit better smile.
Yep.
And of course, I'm always smiling anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like I had to put something on, but I'm gonna make sure that I can give this person what they need in order to have a better moment.
Yep.
And also there's a little self-service there because I need their help, and they're not going to be willing to help me if they don't like me.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can walk in and bend, and that's just one example. But we can walk in and bend the reality of our interaction with other people because of the energy we put off.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you do that too, you could walk through a Walmart and try this sometime. I'm sure you have, but you just walk through and look people in the eyes and give them the smile. You know what I mean? Because the ones that see it, see it. The ones that don't.
Yep.
But what I mean by don't, they will they will go away from you.
Yeah, it's almost like a repel.
Yes, it is. It's really cool to watch and see that. The reaction is like, oh wow, it is real.
It's a little matrixy sometimes. Like it's vroom,
Yeah.
These ripples in the like these waves in the consciousness in the atmosphere and environment around you, because you can like walk through some place sometimes, and like you'll hit a wave of people who are open to that, right? And it's like a boat wake behind you of like some good energy that you've just like left in your wake as you swept through that area,
Yeah.
And David G talks about some stuff. I got to find that meditation, man, because it's really one that I really, really like. And I had downloaded some David G meditations, and one of them got away from me. I don't know how I did. I'll go back out and find it again. But it's a meditation on, and he uses some Sanskrit language when he does it. But in southern Indiana, hillbilly, it's whether if you're walking, did you leave good juju or bad juju behind?
Right.
And one of the things he uses, he says, sweet, vital nectar. And I know that's a little fruity and extreme.
Yeah.
But when you walk through life leaving that good juju behind, that's what it is. You're leaving some sweet stuff, sweet nectar that people actually desire. They want that, whether if they know it or not. Even the people repelling it,
Right.
That balk at it, in their hearts they still want it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
They just don't know how to receive it.
Yeah. There was a squabble at a Kroger a while back that it's funny because I was getting out my truck, and I usually put my headphones on and listen to some meditation music while I'm going through the grocery, and I got out of my truck and put it on, and this guy like flagged at me, and I pulled my headphone off, and he's like, "You sure did park that truck real fast. That's a good job," or whatever. And because it was like a little tight spot, I was like, "Yeah, I've been doing it for a little while, And we just start just chit chatting on the way into the door, And we're walking through the parking lot going across, and next thing I know, I hear some obscenities being screamed from the other side of the parking lot. I said, "I gotta go," and I ran over there, man. I just immediately ran straight over there, and somebody had backed into somebody's car and then pulled back in the spot. The woman that was driving that car was just pissed off because these other people were coming out and yelling at her, and it was two different races, so there was a lot of racial stuff going on. So I went right into the middle and went up to the guy that was trying to control his wife because she was really pissed off at what other people were saying, and trying to help him. I was like, "Hey, what can I do to help, man? What's going on? Tell me what's going on." And he starts talking to me, and it kind of diverts that energy away from what was going on with all them and trying to settle all that down. And they just kept coming, and just bringing it back and forth. And somebody was like, the cops are coming. It's like, good. That's good, And I'd say, "Hey, what's going on? What can I help you with? What's going on?" And by the end of it, the cops showed up and everything kind of dispersed. And I just go walking on into Kroger. And by that time, there was a whole line of people in the front of Kroger just scared to come out because of what was going on. And I'm walking in, and the guy was like, "What? How did you do that?" Yeah. I was like, "Do what?" But it was just, I knew I was supposed to be there to help. You know what I mean? And I didn't run from it. And that's what the guy said. He said, "I couldn't have done that." I said, "Yeah, you could have." And as I'm walking through Kroger, inside, people come up and say, "You were the guy outside, man. That was awesome. Yeah. Thank you for doing that," which was really cool because I didn't even think anything about it. But I'm always there to try to help in a positive way if I can, you know what I mean? And I don't try to run from it. And I know if I'm supposed to be doing it or not because my God conscience tells me if I am.
Yeah.
The other day I was walking through Kroger, and I passed a lady, and I said, "That was my 7th grade teacher." I said, "I need to go make amends to her. Sins by omission amends to her." And I was like, "Oh, no, that wasn't her." My mind, I didn't want to do it at that time. I got things I got to do. I was like, "Dude, what are you doing? God's giving you
busy.
Yeah, God's giving you a gift right now. Go do it."
Yeah, right.
So I went over to her. I said, "Miss Lancaster?" She said, "Yes." I said, "I'm a former student of yours. My name is Shane Gibson." She's like, "I remember you, but you were a lot littler then." I was like, yeah. And I told her, I said, "I just wanted to thank you for being such an awesome teacher. I learned so much in your class." And there was 2 things I'd still take from the that I remember her talking about that I still have to this day. And I didn't get to tell her that part of it, which ones they were, but she started crying. immediately, and I started crying too, and I'm getting emotional talking about it right now, but it was such a cool feeling to tell her that. And then she didn't even have to say much after that. She didn't, she was just got really emotional, and I said, "You have a good day." And
super cool, man.
So
I call them good amends,
right?
Sins of omission and of not thanking somebody, but that's also this extra level stuff that Christopher's taught me, that the TSSR stuff contains, that methodology, which is not in traditional 12-step type stuff. We're out doing amends to the people we've harmed, and yes, but do you want to get some extra juice out of this stuff?
Right.
Yeah, take the opportunities to do what you did just then, and do this thing where you're going and talking to people, or purposely setting out to go approach somebody that you owe some thank yous to, that you owe some love to, for them having had positive impact on your life.
Yep. So the cool part was that extra juice. A week later, I get a card in the mail, and it was from her. She didn't know, she knew my name. That was it. She found my address, and I guess found out I was a plumber too. I think she did ask me why I did, and I told her I was a plumber. And she said, it said in there, "Thank you so much for what you did that day." That affirmation or whatever.
Yeah,
It's just like, I don't know why I was so emotional, but it was beautiful. It just, and thanked me again, which was really cool.
It's another Peterson thing, man. We get so little encouragement. We really do, man. And when so when you actually put some on somebody, and I can receive it today. I told you that, I don't know if I received an email from a dude the other day about encouragement on this podcast, and that really freaking touches me. And when you go give somebody some of that, especially when they're not expecting it.
Yeah.
If it fucking touches you, and if it don't, you're something,
Yeah.
you're better.
Yeah,
And
right.
It does, yeah. So that is, we just get so little of that in life, man. I actually try to be an encourager today. It's one of the things my sponsor modeled for me is how to do that. To encourage people.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm not into what you're doing. And that'll make me kind of in the past or whatever, and I'm learning to do that. It's still some of them old learning, that because if it's something I'm not into, then it makes me feel like I just shouldn't encourage you on it, so to speak. It makes it tougher for me to encourage.
Yep.
For one thing is I don't know really, how to relate it. But today I'm getting over that, man. And I can still encourage you even if I don't know what the hell it is, right?
Right.
And to give that out, man, is a super golden gift that we have to. And that is a juicy fucking story, man. That's
Thank you.
It's exactly what those are elements of what we're doing here as we walk. It says there in that book, our main purpose is to be of maximum service to God and our fellows.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who shirk out there, I'll try to be a little over apologetic on here, because I'll try to get this point across. It's the biggest hurdle we have in 12-step recovery is get you to forget who you think God is, what it is.
Yep.
You must be. You must lay aside your old ideas. It's not that they're no good. You just got to set them aside for a little bit. So I'll just go on that God thing, however you want to say it. I'm going to be a maximum service to this universe and my fellows. I'm going to be a maximum service to the Great Spirit, to whatever you want to call it. Frankly, I've come to be 100% positive. It does not matter what word you use. And there were Bob Earl things from yesterday. My Father does not care about the words I use as long as it comes from my heart. And he was talking about profanity in Alcoholics Anonymous and in 12-step stuff, and people being, that's not spiritual.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, when did you get show me the rule. What do you have? Some sacred scribe over there someplace that nobody else is aware of? It's again that it's exactly that old ideas and this, this faulty teachings and a violation of your own understanding of God, a higher power of your own understanding, God of your own understanding. If you're going to stand there and tell me that cussing is not spiritual, you just violated that whole principle of me allowing me mine of mine idea, because now you're putting yours on me.
you know, it made me think of one of my poems I was gonna read. I mean, as soon as you said that, it popped in my head, but it has to do with what you were just talking about. And then this one was titled "Sown." A garden covered by thistle and thorn. The battle with God is where I was torn. Self-will had run riot, ego full tilt. A body full of poison and a head full of guilt. I dug up my weeds, planted and reseeded. Then I thought, how can I have been so conceited? He had been in my life and very persistent. I don't know why I was so resistant. Reap what you sow, then resow what you reap. It's about what you give, not what you keep. To be understood, you must first understand. You're not in control, it's in God's hand.
Beautiful, man. It's another miracle in your you know, those things. That's well, first off, to be able to write them in the first place, and then to just be able to recite them off the cuff. It's really cool, man. That is you have a gift in that, no doubt. But you have a lot of gifts.
Thank you. You do too. They keep coming, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yep. And that's one of the things where we are on this like parallel highway in a sense, you know, much different in many ways, but much alike in a whole lot of them too.
Yep.
Always my friend who was on a meditation meeting last night, you know, she was asking about you, you know, and they pick up on that energy, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same reason why she likes me, right? She picks up on that energy. She don't understand what it is, but there's something, you know, and
There's
she's
something
trying
there.
to say, but and that can be a little dangerous at some levels.
Right.
But she picked up on that too, and I said, "Yeah, he's the one that's coming over tomorrow." Oh, really? You know, and I said, "Yeah." So you always go. I kind of like think. I go, "Okay, well, let me tell you a few things about Shane." And she's like, "Really, really?" And I said, "Yeah." You know, and she said, "Well, you seem like a really nice guy," and I'm like, and I hope I don't know if she listens to these or not, because I don't mean that to be anything derogatory towards her at any level.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, you don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it's people don't understand this. You know, I mean, you've had some opportunities to actually save some people's lives, or at least it was certainly a very, you know, I don't know. I would say that. Let's just say that to save some people's lives, like from car wrecks and from some drownings and have been in the right place at the right time. God had you there, and the other, you know, that's the other flip side of it. Is there was probably 1,000 people in the right place at the right time, right? One took action.
Yep.
And same thing with the fight in the parking lot. And that thing where, you know, and I actually do it. I know what I'm saying about not do that. I've not had those opportunities, but this thing of this God consciousness, and I will look skyward. It's almost just a reflex. And I don't know if that's where God is or not.
Right, yeah.
It just feels right, and I will look up, you know, but it's also a pause to like, okay, I got that nudge. But almost every time I do that, I know what that really means.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
fact that I even cast my eyes.
You already know the answer before you look up.
Sometimes it's like, really?
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that thing about, okay, well now, so there's what I'm saying is the difference is actually, and this is why, you know, this is fundamental to our program here too. You know, it's, we have a lot of cliches and a lot of little sayings, and they get, you know, they can kind of get cast aside and they can kind of get downplayed, but this is a program of action, right? And that's the difference between the 85 other people who are standing in the Kroger's front thing. It's not that they can't. Mostly it's a won't.
Yep.
And they don't know how to, and they don't have the grounding spiritually to be able to walk into that, right?
Right.
To say, okay, you know, and again, this is not like conscious thought, okay, I'm going to go there.
Right.
But it's an innate thing that we learn. And, you know, at some point I couldn't do that, right? And as I continue to practice this stuff, I gained the ability to be able to walk into things that without, you know, or to approach somebody that
and you feel it. You know you're safe and protected. You feel it.
Yeah. And you know it's that flow thing where I say like at my internal compass needle is pointing towards my true north, and I can feel that, right? And when I do that, it's almost autopilot sometimes, you know. It's not like it's like, okay, here, take it. What do you want to do?
Right.
I said for a long time, and I got this from that Paul Hederman, is another speaker. He's not really a total AA speaker at all, but he talks about recovery. And he gave me that notion about this disease of alcoholism being like a parasite where it takes over and hijacks our operating system.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it, at some level, at one point, the disease of alcoholism had a joystick with my name on it. And I thought I was controlling myself.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. And so I flip onto that switch, about, that I was not in control of my own life. And now here, actually, like the pendulum swings the other direction, and still I am yet no longer in control of my own life. But it's a different power that's controlling things now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole surrender, let go thing of walking with that, in the flow of that, thy will be done kind of energy.
Yeah.
Rather than
my flow.
Yeah. And it's because like my flow is one thing, right? And at one point I was over here at the disease flow.
Mm-hmm.
It had me.
Yep.
And then I think I should be here because the one to do this, I am control my own destiny thing, and I do think there's some grounding in that. I am somewhat in control of my own destiny.
Yeah, for sure.
But then over here is this like I'm in the universal flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to stay over here.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Because I do have some good ideas. I mean, God gave me a mind to think with, right?
Right.
And I get to use that.
Yeah.
It's neat. I don't know. I would have never thought that like this, like a philosophical outlook, but it does land on me today when I look at things and hear things about why writing things out, like the practice of journaling, or why written inventory, and any of those kind of things, and like the energy behind how that actually works.
Right.
Now, I can't sit here and tell you how it does, but it's interesting when I hear other people speak to it, and it lands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they won't be talking about 4-step stuff usually. They won't.
Right.
But then I'll go, oh, that's part of why that works.
Yep.
A lot of that stuff. But I just pour that into my life today. I have headphones on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
me too.
A good 75% of that is feed my brain stuff on that positive kind of affirmation stuff on learning how we and I tick.
Yep.
I love to listen. That's why I was refreshing on Bob Earl. I felt a little rusty on him, and I thought about him the other day. Somebody asked on Facebook, there was a lot of people are doing the virtual thing stuff, so like some of the Facebook recovery pages have blowed up in activity.
Right, yeah, I'm sure.
And I kind of like it. And one of the ones was, who's your favorite speaker? And for those who don't know out there, there's a bazillion different speakers out. And even if you're not an alcoholic or addict, you'll get some value out of listening to those speaker tapes. All you have to do is Google AA speakers and you'll find some. But his hands down was Bob Earl. And it made me think. So I turned it back on again, man, and I heard those lessons again yesterday.
Nice.
The way he talks, because he's speaking from a perspective of like one of the ones I listened to yesterday. He's speaking at 43 years sober, and he is speaking nothing about dope and booze.
Right.
He's talking about what you and I have been talking about here, about operating and how to walk this path out here. Mm-hmm. Now that stuff is sufficiently behind us, that it's really not on the table today.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, we kind of have to keep that little bit of a shield up that at any moment it could be back on the table.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I know it.
But it really is not an option. Mm-hmm. That's again that dichotomy.
Yeah, fuck that is what I say.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fuck that. But I do have to know that at my core, I'll have that in me, and then once a pickle, always a pickle. I'll never go back to being a cucumber, and I also have my experience has shown abundantly that I cannot.
Yeah,
use.
You cannot
I can't
use
moderate. I can't
at all.
I've been down that path, and there's no exceptions to that path.
Right.
It's not like I made it through a couple times.
Right.
Not a single time.
Not one time.
It was just a matter of velocity and time before I hit that wall
again, and again.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was at a customer's house not too long ago, and actually it's a neighbor of mine, and I had to go in the kitchen. I was looking for a cup, and I went in the kitchen, and I opened one of our kitchen cabinets to get a cup, and I opened it up, and it was full. of pain meds. Old pain meds. I mean, the mother load.
Yeah, and you can almost smell them, right?
Oh, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean, I don't really even have to read labels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I shut the cabinet door back real quick, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I opened it back up, and I flicked it off. And I shut it back again. Yeah. But I was like, that's the kind of stuff I looked for when I was in the madness. I was like,
hell yeah.
every new customer's house, I was like, oh, I know where to look. It's funny you had that junkie pride kind of deal where if somebody was sick and that kind of stuff, I wouldn't take it, even if I was dope sick or whatever. But if it was old medicine,
I love finding old scripts.
Oh, yeah.
Because I felt my conscience was clear.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's been sitting here for 8 years.
Justified, man. Justified it. Yeah. It's
They
funny.
ain't using. They don't need that.
No, they'll never know it was gone.
Leftover stuff.
Yep.
Really, they should be getting. I'm doing them a favor. You're supposed
Exactly.
to dispose of this stuff anyway.
Yeah. It's funny. One of the first amends I made to a customer, I had taken some of her pain pills, and God told me this is the time. I was at her place doing another job, and she asked how I was doing. I said, well, if you got a minute, I'll tell you about it. And we sat down and talked, and I told her that, I was in recovery and I had a problem and blah, blah, blah. And I said, and I need to do something with you today if you wouldn't mind listening for a minute. She said, okay. And I told her that I was sorry for what I'd done. I was wrong for taking some pain meds out of her cabinet. And she was like, oh, my gosh. I thought that was my nephew.
Oh, really? Yeah,
and I was like, see, that just affirms that I am doing the right thing right now. So it was me and not him. So it was really cool, and that really set off my men's work as far as like that's how it works. It can help other people's lives too. Right. And it just
took him off the
take him off the hit list of being a thief.
Suspicion.
Yep. Yeah, because she never thought it was going to be me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, never did. No.
Never suspected me. Yeah, that was a cool amends too.
Yeah, I catch myself when I'm in clients' houses now to, somebody will want something done in a that'll require me to be in a cabinet for whatever reason.
Right.
And like the other day, I was at somebody's house that had that she wants some under cabinet lighting installed, which I actually need to get back to her today. And I go up to open up the cabinets, and I stop. I ask permission. I said, do you mind if I open the cabinet door?
Right, yep.
I don't know why, but it's just it's a little sanity check and a little deal. I always think, who knows what's in people's cabinets,
Oh, yeah.
So, I should probably respect that and say something about it before I go flinging cabinet doors open. No matter what, if it's medication or what it is.
No matter what it is, yeah.
Who knows what might be in there that they don't necessarily. Yeah, would you give me a minute?
Yeah. Yeah, I was at a customer's house, and we were trying to find the main water shutoff valve, and so we went down to the garage. I was like, I think it's down in the garage, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, I don't know where is it. I was like, I think it's over here in your grow room. He's like, oh, that's not a grow room. I'm like, all right, dude, I can smell it. And then he goes on to say, it's my friend, he's got this cancer. We're making for. I was like, it don't matter to me.
Justify and rationalize.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
yeah. The more you do all that, the more.
I know you're lying now, but it is funny how we are. But
yep, it's definitely a different. I had a period in my recovery for a little bit where I was a bit more judgmental about other people's usages and stuff and what they were doing with it. That's floating off of me too today more and more. Frankly, I was speaking to somebody the other day about this. Is that frankly, it was good for me for a while, and I really needed to protect my recovery at a certain level where being around people who were using or drinking or doing anything was uncool completely.
Right.
It just didn't work for me. I still don't care to be around it.
Right.
I'm not like when the times that something's happened or whatever or haven't been impacted at the same level. Frankly, everybody in the world's smoking dope now.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, grocery store, you go. I mean, everywhere I go in Home Depot and somebody walks down the aisle, it's like, damn, are you smoking it in here?
Right? Yeah. Are you doing it right now?
Because it smells a lot stronger than if you just got out of the car. But I mean, you can smell that where they like. And I used to prepare. I would do stuff like I'd hit Visine and try to do. I doubt that it had a lot of impact, but I
You
don't
thought
know
it
if
did.
Yeah, yeah. Like try not to smell like it.
Right.
But I don't think people nowadays even, there's a big contingency of people. I think actually they're maybe doing a little bit like wearing it as a badge almost. They come
Right.
in stinking like pot on purpose.
I used to do it. I didn't care. Yeah.
I had a little more shame wrapped around I didn't want to be seen. You said something about isolating and all that before. I remember piece of time. I won't note that I would say it was actually isolating. That's what it looked like. But I didn't want you to see me, not see me.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to really see me because I was
See
afraid
me.
if you hung around me long enough, you'd actually then start to figure out
Who I am.
And the more shielded I could stay from that, the better chance that I could be okay with myself.
It's funny you say that because I was talking. I think I was talking to Alex one day about it, and talking about how my persona back then was like, look at me, and then when you looked at me, don't look at me. What are you looking at?
Yeah, what are you
Kind of
looking
deal. Yeah. It was just funny how we were. Look at me, but don't look at me.
Yeah,
Look at me,
yeah,
don't look at me.
yeah. Yeah, it did have that energy. Yeah. Yeah, do things to make people to draw attention to myself, and then get on you for looking at me.
Uh huh.
Who you looking at?
Yeah.
Who you looking at?
Yeah. Always looking for it. There's that comfortable silence.
Yeah, and I heard you sigh too. I was going to say something about it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm still going to do that retreat come May. I think.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I
See
cannot
reason,
wait.
No, why not?
I don't
Those
see why
who want
not.
to come. Those who aren't comfortable with it, don't.
Mm-hmm. I'm in. You know that. And I know Dave Barnes is looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're one of the last name.
Yeah.
No big deal. Yeah, I noticed some people did some flipping around on there, like undecided, and some people said, no, I'm not coming.
Right.
And that's okay, too. I
Yeah.
totally respect all of that. I thought this would be the biggest one ever, and that scared me, too.
Mm-hmm.
But
Now
then
look what
also,
God did for
there's
you.
some coolness to being like when we do the deer hunts and stuff where it's just a few of us, too. So there's I like that intimacy on that level, too.
Me too.
But I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it, and we'll have it. And if there's 4 people there, there's 4, and if there's however many, we'll
I'd
do
rather-
the same RSVP thing, and so we have appropriate. We'll have plenty to eat, but just plan it like I always do, and just walk it out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It'll work out just the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, because we can. Yeah, I mean,
A lot of it's outside anyway.
yeah, right.
The only time we're
Majority of
inside
it's-
is when we're sleeping or whatever,
Yeah, and we could, if I wanted to, like, maybe limit it to, 10 people in the cabin or something, just so we can follow these safety guidelines that they have, and I got a feeling it's going to be a beautiful spring, and it's going to continue on like this, so it'll be just fine for people who want to camp, tent camp, and not want to be cooped up with other people in the cabin. So I'm looking. I had a lot of intrepidation about that, and I kind of have made up. Of course, obviously everything's at some level of pending.
Right. Yeah. With what's going
things
on.
could go really to shit.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But,
Which we pray it won't.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah. My gut tells me it's not going to. We might continue to have a longer spell of it, but. And I know they assigned the word pandemic to it, but frankly, there really is not like people dropping off left and right. It's really a small segment of the population that has it overall, and even a smaller segment who are actually passing away and dying from it. Yes, we want to slow it down. We don't want to make it any worse. We want to do things to make it worse.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that, and that's about a month away. So I've been down there. Another thing this has actually given me is like some, I don't know. I want to go down there and hang out more, and I have been.
Yeah.
And go down there. I got work to do, and it doesn't feel like work when I'm down there doing it.
Right.
And catch up with some things down there. And this little break has made that easier. I don't know. I can go. For the past year, not having being nothing since leaving corporate America. I guess I can do whatever I want to whenever I want to.
Right.
But this little thing has made it a little easier to say, hell, I'm gonna go down there. What the hell?
Yep. Next time you know when you're going to go down there, give a little heads up, because I wanted to the other day, but I had something going on. And I'm like, oh man,
I know a lot of people offer to help and stuff, and but that's the other little thing on my lifestyle is that like some things come off with very little planning. I'm like Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening or something. I was like, I don't have anything to do tomorrow. I think I'll go disc up the fields down at the cabin.
Nice.
And I went down there. My damn chainsaw wouldn't start. There was remember there's a big, I don't know if you remember, but there's a tree that fell down right by that field out in what we call the number one field. The pylon cut, that cherry tree fell over, and there's that bunch of brush that was sitting right in front of it. Mm-hmm. And although that wasn't too big a deal, but I went down and wanted to clear that out and then disc up that field. And for some reason, my damn chainsaw, I had it running all weekend like a beast. Yeah. And I couldn't start it down there. And the stuff was not so big. I just took the chain on it with the tractor and just drug the whole damn things off rather than cut it up and dispose of it in smaller pieces. And probably all in all, it's probably just as smart to do what I did, because then you drag the whole damn thing off and just leave it in the woods, Right, yeah. I think maybe I just like running my chainsaw. Ring,
yeah, I do too. It's fun.
Cutting stuff up with the chainsaw. But, the offers of help I really, really appreciate. And I'm going to try. I'll get better. The very first one I couldn't. I had trouble allowing people to help me. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten better and better allowing people to help me to pull it off and everything and make it more of a we thing. And so, I know I have at least one or two more prep trips ahead of me, because we need some. I want to take a weekend or take a day, not a weekend, take a day and go gather up some bonfire wood. That's easy.
Oh, yeah.
You just go around and get
sticks and
stuff. I
stuff.
One kind of stuff you big around your arm and leg, and just stuff laying on the ground.
Right.
I burn one kind of wood for indoor fire warmth producing.
Yeah.
You don't need. I don't really. I'll burn a little of that on the outside pile when I want to, but. Bonfire wood can be any old trash out of the woods, We
anything got catch on fire.
Supply out there, to grab up. Plus, I like having some of them longer logs and that kind of stuff and make a big bonfire
teepee.
where we can actually have that whole fire ring as a fire.
Yeah, one of my favorite pictures of one of those is you doing the crow pose in front of that fire when you
when we did that and burned the pile out for it.
Yep, and the picture. It looked like you were translucent.
Right, yeah, you can see through me.
You could see through the flames.
Pictures.
That was so freaking cool.
Yeah, that was cool. It's a lot of cool memories going on down there, and who'd have thunk it? Like I've said a couple times lately, I had no idea what Higher Power was doing 20 years ago when he built that cabin.
Mm-hmm. What was the
she or it or whatever.
Yep.
Because, I'm going to be doing a fifth step down there tomorrow night. Did one last Sunday before. Sunday before. We'll
That's
be not
awesome.
long before we have another one down there. I have another one. I got another guy in the tail end of his fourth step right now on the sex inventory.
Nice.
So he'll be ready to do it. And he's a pure TSSR guy, so
nice.
That's another thing of doing a mixture of people who are in traditional recovery.
Right.
And then some of these folks are TSSR, 12-step spiritual recovery stuff, where that's not necessarily their thing, but they're still receiving the same benefits and miracles and way of living as is promised in that 12-step book. And it's not limited to those who are suffering from alcoholism necessarily.
Yep, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a blast, man. I just can't imagine asking for what I can't imagine. I wouldn't know what to ask for if I wanted more. I wouldn't know. And the other thing is, it's like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I wanted this, right?
Right, exactly. You didn't know what you wanted, what you have right now.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just keep looking around the corner and see what God has in store for me next, and do that.
Yep.
Hell, I never thought I'd be doing these podcasts. This would be episode. Now, this is a little bit deceiving, but this is 160. It's actually 60.
Yeah.
But those are just the one-on-one interviews to start with a 1. So there's another 20 or so that are either roundtables or event ones or something like that.
My episode was 104.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, my first one. Well, my story.
You also, that's another thing Shane holds, is that his podcast is the most listened to podcast to date. So he gets that honor also. So
That's awesome. Good stuff.
yeah, listenership has fell off a little bit. There's a couple things I read about why, but one of the bigger ones that made sense to me is that there's not as many people driving around, and one of the ways people tend to listen to them is in their cars.
Right. Yep.
So
I didn't
that's
think
one
about that.
thing, yeah, that has slowed down. And I don't think, and there's one of it is that people will tend to, like, a lot of people will listen to them while they're like sitting at their office desks at work.
Yep.
And that's also,
Everything's changed.
yeah, so everything has changed. I did hear a couple things that said, I wonder if everything we're going to return to the way it was. And I know the answer to that. No.
Nope. Never does.
Because that's not what we do.
Yep.
We are on a constant evolution, and
Change.
the only thing that remains the same is that things change.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I like that one.
That's one of my other favorites is that, and this isn't, I was assigned as an alcoholic, and I heard from a speaker tape, it said, there's two things alcoholics hate more than anything else, and I would throw it around, and I go, there's two things I hate worse than anything else. I hate change, and I hate the way things are.
Right? Yeah, I like that. That's awesome.
And that is certainly a joke in my world, but
Right.
But it holds some truth, and it holds some truth for a lot of people. I like the dichotomy too, is that I watch and I see a certain segment of the folks that I hear. I won't even assign a label to this, but I hear there's a certain segment that are bitching about the fact that they have to go to work under these current circumstances. And there's a whole nother section of people bitching because they don't have a job. They lost their job. They're not going to work. It's
Yep.
like, I'll find something to bitch about.
Yeah, you will, no matter what.
Sitting at home, I find very little to bitch about today. I really do. That's what I mean about it. I don't know what to ask for, and I really don't have much to complain about.
Yep. I feel the same way, man.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is. Cool, man. Well, I love you like with words that I don't know how to say.
I love you too, bro. Seriously, thanks for having me again.
You've been a huge part of my recovery since we first met.
Yep.
I can admit that at times I look at you and I feel some funny feelings of what I spoke of earlier. There will be some issues, some looks of doubt that will make me laugh because the same things happened and been said about myself,
Yeah.
and I'll go, here I'm doing that too.
Yep.
But I come back to grounding, and I can admit that, again, that's old bullshit in there,
I'm
that
the
I'm
same
not
way.
necessarily under complete control of myself when I'm, I like to think I am. But
Yep.
no, man, there's the Pavlov dog and the bell and the watering mouth is still applicable to me. And it's certain things in my life I see, I can't help that reaction. And what I can do is be aware of it and adjust and not act on that and
Yep.
things like that. But you're a shining star in my life, and one of them beacons and a lantern carrier of this 12-step message that just warms my soul like none other, And if I wasn't walking this thing with guys like you, my life would be less
Thank you, brother.
than it is today. Well, we'll close this sucker up with the same thing we always say, because the two gentlemen on the microphones today live by this. If you're not having a blast in your recovery, it's your own damn fault. Make a course correction. If you're not feeling that something's missing in your life about how you're operating in this, man, there are ways to do that. Find a new teacher. Find somebody. See somebody who is doing the stuff that you wish you were doing, and ask them how they got that. And what my experience has been is those people will be more than happy to share that with you. And one of the other tenets of this whole thing is that I had to be willing to go ask somebody for help. If I'm not open to that and being able to do that, then I'm limiting what I can get with that. So if you're not having a blast or something missing out of your recovery, it's a little bit of a joke about it's your own damn fault, but there also is another level that goes along with the thing that I'm getting ready to say in a second, and that is that you are responsible for your own destiny here, and you have to take some action, and you must participate in your own recovery. You must participate in that however it is. And again, that's not limited to substance abuse and stuff. Whatever you're recovering from, if you're recovering your very soul, as we say in TSSR, you are somewhat responsible for participating in that. I am not responsible for outcomes and the rest of that, how it goes with it, but I am responsible for participating in that. I'm not going to get this thing by osmosis. I'm not going to find this life that I wish to have by sitting on my couch with Cheeto dust on my belly watching TV. So in that regard, thank you all for allowing Shane and I to participate in our recoveries today in this manner. We both have been handed ways to participate in our own recoveries, and that in unique ways to participate in our own recovery that we're both very grateful for, and this is one of them. Peace out.
Always tried to be just who they wanted. Always tried to do everything they said. Only did the things they would approve of. Locked away all your dreams inside your head. Year after year you try to be a good girl. They never failed to point out when you were bad. Stuck to the program like a robot. Became a trophy for mom and dad. But inside you want more. Everything you've been waiting for. Looking for that open door. So every day in your bed, in your heart just keeps saying, let go and fly. Let go and fly. Spread your wings to the sky. Let go and fly. Ever since you was a little boy, they told you, suck it up and be a man. It's time